America needs risk takers, because you work your whole life basically to pay off this and pay off that, pay off a house, so you can live in it for a few hours a night, a few hours in the morning, and you end up having to mow the lawns. But imagine if you could learn to have a little business.
She's the queen of everything that matters, rising high while the doubters scatter, with her name in the wind sharp as daggers. Diane's the queen of everything that matters.
Hello everybody, it's Dianne Linderman again. I just was on here yesterday, and I'm talking about Everything That Matters. That's the name of my show. It's called It's Everything That Matters with Dianne Linderman. Talking about life, business, parenting, cooking, kitchen table politics. And I am a conservative mom. And I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I talk about things like this that will help inspire you to cook at home, to have a garden. I'm not a hippie, trust me. To be a carnivore if I can, and I'll tell you why in a minute, and to realize that everything that you love in life can become a business. Doesn't that sound crazy? Yes, it can. And I'm going to start off with one of my stories. I am a storyteller. That's what I do. In fact, I've written a book called Everything That Matters. It's coming out real soon. I will let you know, and actually you can pre-order them. If you want to send me right now, we're not set up 100%, but we will be. If you would want to send me your email address, in fact, I want you to subscribe, like, follow, and share, and then send me an email. Let me know that you want to order one of my books called Everything That Matters, or one of my newest cookbooks. Also, I'll give myself a commercial right now. You go to Amazon and just put in Dianne Linderman with 2 N's. Dianne Linderman, and you will find 4 cookbooks on there that is all my secrets to all of my restaurants that I've had. Don't have any secrets. I put my best recipes that I do at my restaurants in my cookbooks, and I just like doing that because I want people to go home and be able to make them. But being that I'm an entrepreneur, and our whole company, my husband and I, David, who is a jack of all trades. Many years ago, I thought to myself, if I could do anything in life, what would it be? I'd work with kids, cooking, and animals. Those are my 3 favorite things, and they always have been in the last 45 years. So I started out on a ranch, and that's where I met my husband. And we started a ranch for troubled teenagers, and we realized that to teach kids something, they had to have a purpose. So we had a 3-acre garden. We raised sheep. We had 80 flock of sheep of 80. We had cows. We had milk goats. We had rabbits, and we weren't hippies. I always say that because, I'm talking way back there when the hippies were all over. They're pretty cool, actually. Now that I'm realizing that most of the hippies actually were right about a lot of things, except for smoking pot. That was the only thing I just totally disagreed with. Or getting high or whatever. I just don't need that because I get high on the things I love to do. You don't want to ruin your life with a bunch of stupid drugs to make you relax. This is relaxing. To be able to start a business and do something you love and that you can achieve, you wake up dreaming about. To me, what more high can you get going thrift store shopping and finding something? Oh my God. It's the thrill of the hunt. Yes, when I'm done thrift store shopping, I don't smoke a cigarette. I don't smoke. But it's almost like, I had completed my thrift store shopping today, and I found, for instance, these 2 lamps over here, $15 each. Found out they were worth $400 each. Can you get any more high than that? Now, I can afford things for brand new and cheap, but I don't. That's where you get to save money and become wealthy, is that you start finding ways of repurposing things. And my husband he's a old car builder, street rods, hot rods. He takes stuff out of, I think I've told this story before, but he pulled out an old piece of rusted car out of a creek in Oregon. And I'm like, oh, good Lord, here he is bringing his rust home. He had a lot of it. And then I was struck down by my own judgment. And like I said, don't ever judge a book by its cover. But my husband took that old piece of rust with a bunch of old other pieces of rust, and I think the old car guys will understand this. Went to an old car swap meet, huge in Portland, Oregon, and he came home with $10,000 in his pocket. I'm like, I am a believer because he's like that. I think he's worse than me. Yeah, he doesn't like thrift stores. He thinks they're too expensive. But he will go to a garage sale and Jew people down. Oh, I shouldn't say that, huh? Oh, well, he will. He will get them down in price. And I can't believe it. I mean, I love him for the many things that he does like that. And anyway, I was going to talk to you about entrepreneurship to start with because that's what I'm promoting. I'm promoting freedom of spirit, freedom of heart, freedom from all your stupid traumas, plain old freedom. And, I had to wait a long time to get things that I really wanted in life, but it was worth the wait because I had to buy and sell a lot of cars in my life. And my husband and I, we had to buy and sell a lot of houses to get a beautiful house. I've been bankrupt. So we lost everything. And guess what, people? When you understand what it takes to build a life and a business, it came back like lightning after we had to literally give up a house. We had other houses. See, thing is, we were pretty smart with our money. And it was all about, I guess being bankrupt was probably the worst and the best thing that ever happened to David and I. We learned, first of all, it was very humiliating because we're very honorable people. And when people know, oh, they went bankrupt, it sounds terrible. But truthfully, if you ever understood the story about bankruptcy, and guess who had to tell us? The judge. When we went bankrupt, this guy loved us so much. I couldn't even believe it. I felt like he was Oz. He was up here and we were down there looking up at him. And he basically told us that the reason why they had debtor's prison in the old days was to put people away that never paid their debt. So in those days, I probably would have been to jail. But the neat thing about what they've figured out is that they'd have the best and the brightest and the smartest people in the world, the risk takers, in jail. And the whole society slowed down because America needs risk takers. And I'm not saying to go out and be stupid, but if you have an idea, a dream, you have to be putting your whole self where, some people just like security. They want a paycheck. I get that. That's not for me. Because you work your whole life basically to pay off this and pay off that, pay off a house, so you can live in it for a few hours a night, a few hours in the morning, and you end up having to mow the lawns. But imagine if you could learn to have a little business that kept it compounding and getting bigger, and you buy something and you sell something and you buy another house. That's what we did. My husband is an amazing builder. And we would buy something that needed a little love. I decorated. He did all the unbelievable redoing of the house. And I'm very good with color and finding thrift store items to repurpose. And this little cottage I'm in is one of them. And you should have seen this place. It was like a garage. And I'm going to show you pictures of it eventually. But the thing is that the most beautiful part about what we learned was that society had to bring back people that go bankrupt, because he said to us, this judge, now you guys have a clear path in front of you and behind you. And yeah, you may not get the best credit for a few years, but you'll figure it out. I'm going to tell you something, people. I don't want to tell anybody secrets, but I got a car offer to have a loan a week after my bankruptcy was over. And that was like not 10 years. They say 10 years. I'm not saying you should ever do it. I'm just saying that don't freak out if it happens to you. There is a way around it. There is a way through it. And you know what? These people that lend money, they know you have no other debt. So their risk is very minimal. They're smart. And we had amazing credit and financials beforehand. But when Biden showed up, not Biden, it was Obama, and our first store shut down and went bankrupt because it's like the whole world kind of shut down in a strange way. And it was a really neat store, and it was a place called the Moms Club Mercantile, where I rented little spots out for moms that had kids that wanted to have their own business. And then we had a main station where we had somebody selling everything. They're all over the place. They're really neat. I still support those every time I get a chance to. And then the neat thing that we had in our store was an 8,000 square foot store. Is we had a place in the heart of it where kids could play while their parents worked on their booths. And it was really, really successful until Obama started messing with the country. And then before we knew it, our sales went, ooh. People didn't show up because you know what? They had to reserve. They couldn't just go out and have fun at these places. And I realized that was probably not a good thing to do, have a place like that, because it is a place where you may not need something kind of business. And I think you have to have a combination of needs and wants. And I've learned so much. I could teach you. I'm writing another book right now, but my other book is coming out. It's called Everything That Matters. And it's really about funnier than heck book about all my failures and all my successes, my husband and I. And I don't mind talking about my failures. I learned more from my failures in life than I've ever learned from anything else. But, I was going to tell you a little story because I love collie dogs. I mean, full on Lassie style, big old collie dogs. And I remember thinking, I wanted my daughter to experience a collie dog because they're just really cool. They're really neat dogs. And if I had 1 million of them, I could sell them. So I thought, well, we could just go into the collie business. and I thought that would really be fun to do with my daughter. And so I bought two beautiful, she bought one and I bought one, female registered purebred gorgeous collies. And then I bought a beautiful male collie. And one thing you'll have to realize when you do any business, you have to be prepared. So my husband built this really nice dog kennel for us. And, at first they're so fun. You keep them in the house and stuff until they get big and you want them out of the house because they've got a lot of fur. But they're such awesome dogs. I mean, they are the sweetest hearted animals I think I've ever had. I've had German Shepherds, which I love too. But anyway, the collie business, okay? This is a funny story because when your collie has babies, okay, so they grew up as puppies. I got the male and they were like 3 and they bred, and at the same time, they both had babies. And it was in the middle of the worst storm in Texas where electricity would go on for an hour and a half and it would go off for like 2 hours. And it was frozen. It was like a frozen wasteland. I haven't ever seen that since I've lived here in 15 years. But it was the worst time in the world to have a bunch of puppies. Here's the funniest part. They both had them at the same time. So mine had like 9 and hers had like 8. And, 17 puppies at one time. Okay, they were the cutest things you've ever seen. And they were every single color. And, my daughter and I didn't get enough sleep in 3 weeks because those particular kind of dogs have so much fur and they're big. They weigh 60 to 80 pounds. And when they're nursing their dogs, they're puppies, they can't see them. So all of a sudden we'd hear, every 15 minutes we took turns running in there, keeping them from suffocating. It was a lot of work. Just tell you, it was a lot of work. We almost died in those 3 weeks. My daughter and I literally had to sleep next to them. And finally they got to that age where it wouldn't suffocate them. And so we might have been able to go out for a few hours until they started walking, right? And we had them in the sunroom. Here in Texas, they call it the Texas room. And the interesting part about this whole thing is, can you imagine now that they're running around 5 weeks old. They're the cutest things you've ever seen in your life. I mean, come on, people. Have you ever seen a baby collie dog? You need to look it up. Let's see. 17 puppies, collie puppies, running around a 3-acre area around our house. And then the 3 other dogs, the 2 mothers and the big daddy. It was a full-time job, okay? Scooping the poop, making sure then they started eating. And then that kennel my husband built, which had 3 different areas, got too small. And then, of course, now how are we going to sell 17 collie dogs? And they go for a lot of money. And so, yes, we sold probably 95% of them, and I had to give a few away. But I have to tell you, people, after that, I'm like, I'm done. No more puppies. Until 6 months later, when the male dog dug into the females, and boom, it happened all over. 6 months again. 6 months later, it happened all over again. And again, there was like 16 puppies again. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went and neutered my male. I quit the puppy business. It wasn't for me. I'm just telling you these stories because if anything you love in life, you can have a business. And I'm not kidding. Dogs, I'd rather them come from us, which is not a puppy mill. We had a swimming pool they all swam in. It was crazy. And it was fun. But man, all those puppies running around loose all the time. I mean, it was a lot. My husband was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? It was a lot of work. And to this day, I'm sure those people love the people that bought them. I looked at them, and if they didn't look good, I wouldn't sell them to them because, I don't want to end up my puppy going to a place that you don't approve of. But most people just loved them, and they send me letters sometimes about them. But no more puppies. Sorry. So here's another thing I don't know if you know about us is that what I talk about is really becoming pioneers. We have to reinvent the pioneer system again because yes, we've got technology, people are pioneers of that, and we're going to have AI and blah, blah, blah. Okay. But what happens to all the old skills, the talents, the trades? People don't become and this is what I believe is wrong with our country really bad. Micro, for instance, he has this neat thing called Micro Works. And he gives scholarships to kids to go to trade school because he said there's what did he say? There was 3,000 jobs out there and $100,000 a year jobs with plumbing and electrical and building, and people aren't going for it. Young people are not into it. What about the fact that they're building ships right now, the military, and they can't find enough people to help build ships. We have lost an entire generation to computers, to technology, to thinking they're going to get rich. And some people do, but some people don't, doing their thing on the internet. I'm thinking, what happens if all that explodes right there? And then we literally are... I heard something one time from a very famous guy that's a talk show host. He said, I've got this beautiful house in New York. And the moment the toilet blows up and I can't use the plumbing anymore, that house is worthless. I thought, wow. And he's like, what happens if the electricity goes out? That house is worthless. So all those tradespeople that are now dying off, getting old, and my husband is one of those people. He knows how to do everything. He's an electrician by trade, but the man can build, create, make anything. He knows how to. He built this log home that ended up in Log Home Living magazine. It's an unbelievable, beautiful house, which I will show you someday. I always say that and I tease you. But all of his talents and skills, my husband could get $1 million an hour. I mean, I was like, how do you have that many skills and talents? And he loves doing his stuff. That's why he builds old cars. That's his thing. But we don't have enough of those kinds of people. And kids are not interested because you know what? We've taught them they don't have to physically work. Farmers' kids and ranchers' kids are even going off the farms and ranches. They don't want any part of it anymore because they can go out and go on the internet in their little apartments, probably make some money. But what happens when that all goes away? And that could easily just be the plug could be pulled. And then what do you do? And people start to starve to death because there's nobody that with any real skills, farming, ranching, electrical, plumbing. I mean, most farmers and ranchers, they know how to do everything. Otherwise, they'd have to hire somebody every time. You couldn't afford it. And so the kids that are being raised on our farm and ranch can do anything. They can even, the kind of business we have a lot of girls and working. Those girls go fully equipped knowing how to change tires. They can actually fix the engine with an iPhone, with my husband on the other end saying, do this and that. They're not afraid. They learn something every single time. In fact, one of our partners is a girl, and she's in charge of all 12 of our trucks because she's so thorough. And she knows when we get new tires and, things don't sound right. She keeps amazing, really good, records of everything. We had a guy doing it, and he was a mechanic, and he was horrible at it. He didn't have the love for it, so he's just a mechanic. But she is a manager. And what I'm saying is that women and men need to learn skills and talents. I mean, I make a living cooking. I make a living having people petting my animals. I make a living working with kids. And I wouldn't even care if I didn't make a living doing that. I love doing it. And all the people that work with David and I love it. And it's a really neat experience for kids to go into our petting farms, for instance. And we do some of the most major shows in the country, the Houston Livestock Show in San Antonio, and, the Livestock Show, and we do Denver Stock Show. We do all these shows that are all agriculturally related, State Fair of Texas. And when a kid goes into one of our petting farms and they sit on the ground and they see an egg drop out of a chicken, it's hilarious. And then what if we let them learn how to milk a goat? You should see the boys. Ew, ew. Those are udders. They're not what you think they are. They're udders. That's what they're designed to do. Squirt milk out of. I mean, So, come to long story short, we are starting a TV series. It's going to be a YouTube series called American Pioneer. And if you want to find out and see a teaser on it, it's American Pioneer, AmericanPioneers.tv. Got to go there. And you'll see this awesome film that my son is amazing. He's really, really good at filmmaking. He's made some films and won a bunch of awards, but now he's doing it for us. He's doing it for what he loves too. And we're going to show you on these films the very things I talk about, how to do them. And if you really want to get up close and personal, you can go to AmericanPioneerRanch.com, and we do retreats. And we have a place where you can come out, you can spend a week, and you can work right alongside all of our hardworking ranch people. And my daughter is the farmer and the rancher that is raising regenerative beef and lamb. And she's learning all about regenerative farming. And she's unbelievable about how we wasted our land by having commercial fertilizers and overgrazing. And she's got this, and I'm going to have her on one day because she's so interesting. And the girl can do anything. I mean, it's amazing. If you go and watch the teaser, you'll see her on there branding cows and working with a bunch of young people. All those young people, we call them young pioneers. And so we are pioneering a whole new way of life that's really an old way of life. Because leaving our roots that far behind is the worst thing we can do. Because it's the skill level, it is the tradesmen and women, and it's the abilities that we are leaving in the dust to choose easier, simple things that you really, if they pulled a plug on electricity, you would die. Honestly, I'm not going to freak anybody out, but think about it. What if they pulled up electricity? Could you survive? I've survived before without electricity. Our log home was equipped with, an amazing wood stove and a generator. I mean, we were set up in Oregon when I lived there, but I'm a Texan, so I was drawn back to Texas. And my husband built this amazing log home there. Yes, we had to leave it. It was very sad. He built the sawmill, cut down the trees. I know he probably hates me to this day, but he loves it here now. And he's recreated a whole world here. And I don't know, there's so many stories, people. And I've got my book coming out. It's called Everything That Matters. And I hope that you'll join me on my podcast because I'm going to have some interesting guests, but I'm pretty good at doing it on my own. I've got so many things to talk about and inspire you with. Hope I don't bore you. And if I do, that's your problem. Anyway, my name's Dianne Linderman, and this is Everything That Matters. And I hope you will join me every week. I'm going to try to do at least 2 to 3 of these, and eventually they'll be live and I'll be able to take your phone calls. So make sure you subscribe, like, follow, and please share. Go to YouTube and sign up and subscribe there because I would like to get as many of you out there subscribed and part of this. And we can grow something amazing because I'm going to highlight not only our group, but many people that I've met in this country that are fascinating. I mean, every human being on this earth has a story. And that's what we want to tell. We want to tell the stories of the old days and how people brought up their families and the things they've achieved and the wealth that they have because they never doubted themselves and they just kept going. And that to me is so exciting. Can you imagine being able to meet these people and look at what they do? Oh, I love it. So make sure you subscribe, like, follow, and share. Love y'all. Thank you very much for listening. My name's Dianne Linderman, and this is Everything That Matters. And I'm the queen of Everything That Matters. Thank you very much.